Greetings, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Christianity and Me, entitled after Young Jeezy's rap song, My President is Black. Now, I got the inspiration to make this video a while back because I remember how on election night I received an interesting text message that I'm sure a lot of you have received. And it read, "All whites, please report to the plantation." Now, this video will be about the political perceptions within my religious community. And as most of you know, last year's election of the Obama-Biden ticket ensured that the streak of 43 white guys holding the office of president was broken. In my church and many like-minded denominations, people vote Republican around 99% of the time or more. And this uniformity is not surprising since they're socially conservative on pretty much all the issues, ranging from opposition to gay rights, to opposition to abortion rights, to opposition to evolution being taught in schools, to opposition to comprehensive sex education. Most are not at all interested in the fiscal positions of the candidates, even though most agree with the economic platform of the Democratic Party. They still vote straight ticket Republican. The large majority are low information voters who are essentially scared from the pulpit and the Christian newspapers, radio, voting guides, and so on to vote for God's party and against the party of the liberals. Not many liked McCain, but they voted for his ticket because they liked Palin, who was a very conservative Christian. And whenever I would talk to them about Palin and about her qualifications, about whether some of her positions were biblical or not, I would never get anything more than just perhaps maybe a 3-sentence answer. Mainly the answer was, Palin, she's a Christian just like I am. That's all that matters. That's what we need. That's it. For the last couple of Sundays after the election, I started noticing something really odd in the prayer pattern at the church. People started praying very, very differently than they had in the past 8 years. And they started mentioning things like, America's going down the drain, God won't bless us anymore. And it was pretty clear that this was all due to the fact that the Democrats would be in power and God's party would be out of power, because American voters rebelled against God's will and chose evil over good. This isn't something new for me. The first time I started noticing political distinctions of this nature was when I was in middle school. Clinton was president and the whole Lewinsky scandal occurred, and everybody in the church disapproved on a biblical basis. He lied to the country, he committed adultery. But what I noticed only now, when I look back at that time in my life, is that they prayed to God that the country's direction would be righted, namely that he would be replaced. They never, not that I can remember any, they never prayed that he would be restored, that he would seek forgiveness, or that he'd seek reconciliation with his wife. And I think that's a big difference, because when Bush ran, everybody was excited about him. People were praying loudly that, God, please save this country and pick this guy to be our president. And after he won, people were literally ecstatic. I heard prayers like, God, thank you for really proving that you love America, for making sure this guy wins the presidency. And during his 8 years, all of the prayers were either prayers of blessings, God, please give him wisdom to make godly decisions, or prayers of praise, thank you for turning this nation towards God and give him victory and things of that nature. I never heard one prayer of doom lifted up as I did those past couple Sundays after the election. And I never heard one prayer of rebuke or criticism that, God, please give him wisdom because it seems like he's not acting according to your standard, which I found a little bit odd. But the Bible actually refers to prayers for leaders in 1 Timothy chapter 2. It says, I urge that entreaties and prayers, petitions and thanksgivings be made on behalf of all men, for kings and all who are in authority, in order that we may lead a tranquil and quiet life in all godliness and dignity. I'm not here to debate political preferences or talk about who Christians should have voted for or why they didn't vote or whatever, because that's really irrelevant. What troubles me is that this admonishment is only selectively applied, and people really believe that God is a political sympathizer. Now, these verses are pretty clear in telling us that we must pray for all leaders, not just the ones we like. And I think that's what kind of is supposed to distinguish us from other people who have self-interests in politics. And it bothers me when the church has become so biased due to their political preferences that they can't even pray for their leaders as mandated by these verses. It just seems so petty, so childish. And perhaps it shows that maybe we don't have as much faith in God as we say we do, seeing how we let ourselves be led by a standard that's not very biblical, namely that of welcoming and praising those we like, and ostracizing and criticizing those we don't like. Now granted, this is an exciting and frightful time in our history. We're turning the page whether we want to or not, and we have huge challenges that we have to face up to. And I really should caution that perhaps we shouldn't expect too much. Now granted, this is more of a personal note, but the way I see it is Bush inherited a Ferrari. He had a federal surplus, a Ferrari, and after 8 years, the Ferrari's not in such a good shape. Our reputation abroad is stained after an unpopular war in Iraq and a neglected war in Afghanistan where we've lost the initiative to a resurgent Taliban, along with the shame brought on by Abu Ghraib and Guantanamo. They actually recently released the guy after a couple of years in there for simply having a Casio watch. And it turned out he was Canadian of Arabic extraction. Now, we're handing the keys to our broken down Ferrari to a new guy, and we're expecting that we won't miss a beat. I think it'll take patience and time to even get back to where we were 8 years ago. Who knows what'll happen? Maybe things get better, maybe they get worse. But all of this really shouldn't matter. This is exactly why the Christian community should be praying for this man instead of retreating into doom and gloom prayers. We shouldn't be swayed by political winds or political preferences in how we direct our prayers. In my view, Obama is no longer just a man or just another president. In some ways, he's become a symbol. Whether it's fair or not, whatever he does will affect how a whole race of people in our country is perceived by the rest of the nation, as well as how a whole nation is perceived by the rest of the world. And to you, President-elect Obama, I don't think you should get too comfortable, because people are going to hold you to your promises. With that said, I wish you Godspeed. And I think most people wish you Godspeed as well.